Welcome to my surrogate Midwest school. I'm Gail Lescher, and my relationship with this school is I've been coming here for a year now, and mentoring teachers and teaching various classes, particularly in the arts and music, and have taught a few chalkboard drawing classes here in the past. So I'm just finishing a week here of mentoring and observing teachers, and we're doing a chalkboard drawing class today. So welcome. Because some of you are new and some of you have done this before, those of you who have done this before with me, I'm going to reintroduce a few things, but hopefully in a slightly different way, and we're going to play with color today and form, and keep it more or less directed towards the curriculum that you're working with, which is from 1st through 6th grade. And what can I tell you about chalkboard drawing? It's an amazing medium. It's one of the most forgiving mediums, because if you don't like it, you just go right over it. You don't even have to erase. You just kind of go over it and keep building and building and building. And you're going to be working with some pretty vibrant colors. Chalkboard drawing has been a long-standing art in the Waldorf schools. You oftentimes will have large expanse of black, and it's lovely to have a place where you can put forth an image that the children can use, go to the well and drink from that image during the course of their day and week. And it might be an image that depicts the season that you're in, or something from a story, or a field trip that the class has taken, or maybe just some beautiful color. So it's a way of enlivening the room, enlivening the curriculum, and another thing for the class teacher to do. So one of the things that I hope to impart to you is that you don't have to spend 4 hours on a chalkboard drawing on the weekend, and you guys kind of already know that. So the dilemma is, how do you put something up that's quick? It tends to be a fast medium. It's not like doing an oil painting where it's meticulous and slow and you have to kind of keep coming back to it. This is do it and step back. Do you need to modify it? Great, modify it, and then walk away. Go on with the rest of your activities. So let's just start with color. And you've got 3 pieces of paper. On this top one that you're going to work with, imagine that it can be, I don't want you to draw a line dividing it into 4 quadrants, but I do want you to just look at your paper for a moment and imagine where you have a section up here, a section here, a section here, and a section here. Okay? And today we're going to have an almost line-free experience. All right, so please take your yellow. And this first exercise, we're just going to explore first the primary colors. And so up here in this section, using the side of your chalk, not the corner or end, I want you to begin drawing yellow. And let that yellow ray out. And find somewhere in this yellow a darker area. And it might be in the lower right-hand corner would be the preferred darker area. But it doesn't have to be. And just kind of build it out. Not too big, maybe about as big as your hand. And find some places where it just disappears and you can barely see where its edge is. And it can go off the page even. So having a place in your yellow that's very strong and bold and a place where it's very veiled and thin.
Gail, could you remove your glasses?
Yeah. Is that better? So really work on those extremes, places where it's very, very strong and places where it's very, very light. Just a whisper. You all have a rag. Different people have different needs for clean fingers. So feel free to use your rags if you want to wipe your fingers off in between. And then please pull out your deepest red. Okay, and then either over here or underneath, but adjacent to your yellow, you're going to do the same thing with red. Again, beginning somewhere and growing out from that. And notice how the red is different on your paper than the yellow. And you can come right up against your yellow, but don't cross over onto it. So reaching out, see how dark you can get it? Actually, the more you press the red on, the lighter it gets because the black paper's not coming through. Okay, so the next color we're going to work with is blue, and the conundrum is you have a lot of different blues, and I'm not going to worry a lot about which blue you use, but try and use the blue that is the most blue. In other words, as far away from the green pole and as far away from the lavender, violet, purple pole. So as in your mind, as blue as you can have your blue be. And in a space somewhere adjacent to your two other colors, go ahead and meander in your blue. And again, you can come up against the other colors, but don't connect them yet. Don't overlap them. Okay. So, what are we working with here? And there's more than one answer. What are we working with here?
The three primary colors.
The three primary colors, okay. And what else are we working with?
Light and dark.
Light and dark, okay. So there's areas that, given that we're working with black paper, really our darkest areas are where we've hardly put on any color. So in a way, this is dark, although we in the way that we think of drawing, which is to add a color to white, is these are our darkest areas. But in this case, working on black, we're kind of working with the opposite. We're also working with intensity of color versus very diffused color, okay? And then what else are we working with? And maybe before you answer, get up and walk around the room and look at each other's drawings.
Movement.
Movement, okay.
Shape.
Shape.
Gradations.
Gradations.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Individual style.
Yes, individual style. Structure. So now come back to your seats and hold in your mind some of the differences that you saw, and then just take a moment and let's articulate a little bit. How is yours different from someone else's? And maybe find one in your memory that is dramatically different from yours, and speak about how yours and the others are the same or different.
This one, mine is more like the strokes are more, rounded or even, except for I really tried to make them different. And then like my colleagues here, hers seem to have all these edges to them and like shapes within the actual shading of it.
Okay, great. Anything else? Any others?
I
Yes.
noticed with Melissa's that hers looks like there's a light shining underneath her intense colors.
Okay, can you set your it down for, okay,
It's-
okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're really way more so than mine. Like, it's coming through very nicely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What else?
I've noticed that since we had such a variety of blue shades, how that brings out the vibrancy of the color depending on what shade, or lightens all the colors around it depending on what shade of blue we use.
Okay, so say more about that. What did you notice? Particularly,
I almost felt like mine was white when I got back here. I was like, wow, my blue's almost white.
okay. What happened to the other colors when a different blue was used?
More light entered some. It's dampened in others.
Okay. All right, good. So, so these are our primary colors, and really everything else you've got in your bowl, other than the white and the black, is some combination of those three colors mixed together. Now, I'll take back a little bit. Those of you who used this more teal, aquamarine blue, that would not be your pure color. There's already some yellow in there. That's why, the question is to start with your pure color and then go out from there. But we've got so many colors to choose from, so why not? So these are our building blocks colors, and really, in the classroom, a painter could truly just have these three colors and paint every potential green, blue, purple, orange. All the range can happen with just those three colors and some white and some black. But we live in a society where more is better, so we have all of these different things to choose from, so we don't have to spend as much time finding the right color. Someone's already made it for us. Okay, but I want us to just work with that a little bit with just these three colors. So using the colors that you already have and have used. So going back to your yellow, I want you to take your yellow now and start in its wherever it was its strongest, and move it now over the boundary and on top of your red, and don't completely obliterate it, cover about 1/3 of it, and go out to the areas where it was pale and cover some of the areas where it was strongest, and you'll start to see a range there. And again, have its edges be soft. Where it starts to taper, allow that to be very soft. And when you're finished, give the edge of your yellow a little bit of a wipe. Get any of the red off of it. And go back to the yellow, to the pure yellow, and then work your way again towards the blue and into the blue. And those of you who used the really light blue, if you're feeling like you're not getting enough color out of that, feel free to go with one of the other blues just to give it a little bit more. Okay, and when you're done with that, go ahead and pick up your red. And starting on a pure red area, move it just a little bit over that yellow that you moved into red. Blend them now from red back into the yellow. Just a little bit. Not much will be needed. And if it needs to be cleaned, go ahead and clean it just a bit, and then go into your blue, heading the other direction. Now laying red over blue. And make sure to stop short of where your yellow came into the blue. And when you're done with the red, then bring your blue back onto pure blue and reach it out into the yellow just a bit. Again, really soft at its edges so you don't have any distinct lines. And then reach it into the red just a bit. Okay, now, what have we got? We have been now layering one color on top of another color. Can anybody put a name to some of these new colors that we have? Green. So now we've created our secondary colors. Our greens, our oranges, and our violets. And not just, now we don't have just 6 colors though, do we? we have so many different colors. So we've got yellow, we've got yellowish orange, we've got orange, we have orange red, zinnebrat, vermilion into red violet. So there's just this constant changing. Hopefully there's no place where you can draw a line and say on this side of the line is one color and on this side of the line is another color. Okay, so terrific. Now I would like us to just walk around really quickly and take in any observations you have around color, form, anything you see that stands out, like, ooh, I wish I had done that on mine, or you know, a particular form or a particular style that stands out for you. Okay, what did you find? What would, now that if you had a chance to do this again, would you do anything differently? Is there something about someone else's style, the color combinations, anything at all that you really like? It's appealing to you.
I really like some of the patterning of some of the different styles have the kind of texturing of the actual look on the paper. Mm-hmm. The rhythmical, however they do it, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, almost some of them have a pulsating quality. Others are very soft and modulating very slowly. Lots of different things going on. What about anyone else?
Yeah, I learned that the block idea was not a good one. And then I made my darkest areas away from all of the colors.
It was challenging then, wasn't it? Okay, good. Anyone else?
It's neat how we're doing the same exercise, but they're so individually unique. You know?
Yeah. Which is an interesting question, because in Waldorf education, a lot of people come to Waldorf education, especially parents, thinking, oh, this is one of this free education where everyone just does whatever they want. The children are just going to be artistic and expressive. No. No and double no. Over and over again, the children will be walked through a lesson and they will all do the same thing. The exercise will be the same. And yet, it's through those limitations that, I just read something last night. It was Schiller. Schiller said something about how the most creative, what?
I'm joking, like that's your bedtime reading.
No, it's just, no, it's unusual that I would be reading that, but I was. And he was talking about how the greatest creativity comes when the artist gives him or herself limitations, and you work within something smaller, like you have less colors, or you have, what have you, but there's limitations to what you're doing, and then you become more creatively resourceful. So, an interesting topic. Gosh, I never thought I would bring that in here. Okay, so, but then the other part, which you're already seeing, is, okay, so we're doing a chalkboard drawing workshop where we're learning how to put images on the board for students. And that is a big part of what we're doing. But we're also being artists. And so what Brett is alluding to is, yeah, so there's that style that I'm working with, or the way I'm choosing my colors that I'm working with. All of these things, then, it's not just that you're putting an image on the board, but you're putting an image on the board as an artist paints on their canvas or sculpts, and there is that feeling will, which the Waldorf schools are working with, that you are finding your way into something through a compass of intuition. So how, I don't come with a fixed idea of what it's going to look like, but I'm working with the materials, and I am in collaboration with my colors, with my surface, with my everything, to be present in the moment, to make that marriage, that dance between ultimately what my image is going to be and that whole journey to get to that final image. So one of the things that we'll be working with today is really trying to work outside of form, but creating form, but coming to it on our own, not with a pre-designed fix of what that looks like. So, thus we have a many varied perspective. Okay, so this, you're going to draw on this later, so take your other 2 pieces of paper and put them on top of this, or put it off to the side. And we'll start with a fresh piece. And now I would like you to take your lightest blue. Your lightest blue. And let's see, for me that will be this one. Okay, so this will be a full picture. So again, using the side, and just start somewhere in the middle and begin to grow out. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to draw. So moving about all the way out to the edges. And come down, all the way down. I'm just going to fill this whole piece of paper with blue. Move in various directions so you don't just have a series of parallel lines. I do have some masking tape here if anyone is finding their papers wiggling all over the place if you want to tape down a couple corners. It's up here. Okay, when you finish this field of blue, go into your bowl and find a darker blue. And starting at the top, go over the surface of your lighter blue and come about halfway down the page and stop. And as you practiced with the first exercise, stop by gradually tapering the color. There should be no distinguishable edge of where the second blue ends. Should be very soft. And then nearer the top, you can come back in and deepen it a bit. So you should still be seeing some of that first blue coming through. So now, I'm starting from the bottom up, yellow, and your yellow is going to end about where your second blue ended. So they will meet but not overlap. And not that you'll be able to find an exact distinct place because I asked you to keep it soft. You'll have to just kind of find your way to where it is. It does not have to be a straight line at the top of your yellow. It can have a little bit of movement. And find one place where there's a rise. For me, it's rising a little bit to the right side of the page. Just a little bit of a rise. Okay, and then switch over to your most emerald green. And now find your top edge of your yellow and work along it, stretching that green out in either direction. And you don't have to follow it precisely. You might go above it or below it just a bit. and bring this darker green in. And let it taper as it comes to the bottom of the page. Okay. And in about 1 minute, I want you to get up and walk around and look at everyone's just as they are so far. So take a little tour. And don't feel like you have to get right up on them. Remember, this is all about kind of distance viewing. So lots of differences, some very strong horizon lines starting to form, some luminous yellow coming through the green, a lot of movement in the sky. Okay. Take back with you something you saw on someone else's drawing that you would like to incorporate into yours. And just take a couple minutes and do that. Halfway? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to put a little first grade house in this landscape. And we're not going to use any line to make the house. So remember back to your first drawing where we started with one color in the center and we worked our way out. So I want you to have a sense, okay, is my house going to be this big or is it going to be this big? So I want your house to be relatively small. I'm going to say no larger than this and no smaller than this. Okay, so somewhere in this range. I want you to just watch for a minute, don't draw. So I'm going to start with a bright orange and I'm going to put my house over here. So just watch. So I'm growing my house out from the center. I'm going to find its edges as I go. And why I'm doing this is, okay, so that's how big that is. Now I can stand back and look. How's that feel? Okay, if I just start by drawing a rectangle around it, I give myself no leeway to make it smaller if I started too big, or I'll end up with a bunch of lines inside of lines. So I'm working my way out and I'm finding my form. That feels about right, and I'm going to give it a roof. So I'm going to come up and create my roof from the inside out. And I'll have some rafters sticking out and some rafters sticking out. Okay, so I want you to find your house from the inside out. A lightish reddish color. And then once you find it, you can come in and, again, using still the side of your chalk, find its edges. Do not draw a line around its edge. Am I cold? No, I'm fine. Okay. So when you think you've got your house formed and it's about the size you want it, take a look at its walls. Take a look at it. Is everything kind of squared up with, and make adjustments as needed. If a wall is leaning, make it plumb. So it will require at times to get some distance to see that. Okay, so you all have your lovely little houses. Once you've got the shape you want, the edges you want, take a deeper red, either that deep red or there's kind of a darker pink, either one of these. And again, starting in the center where you began your house, move out to the edges again and fill the space from the inside out. And You can follow along its edges with still the side of your chalk and just pressing a little bit more on the end that you want the edge on. Bless you. Bless you. Okay, and then find a brown and along its base. Under the eaves. Give it a little bit of form. A door. And we'll let that rest. Okay, so leave your house be for now. We'll come back and work on it some more. So now find somewhere in your drawing, if your rise is behind the house, find another place where there might be a tree that can come forth. So with your green, find a place. I'm going to put my tree here. So the tree is going to come right up out of the ground. So right in here, can you see okay, Brett? I'm going to draw the tree right up out of the earth, and I'm going to grow it. So just watch for a minute. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to find its branches as I go. So the main branches always coming up from the bottom. So find 6, 7 around their main branches. And once you have the main branches, you can work off of them to have a few side branches. So look up for a moment, and I just want to show you something. So as I'm drawing, and this is something you'll want to cultivate over time and work on with your children if you've got children, is, so I've got my chalk and I'm coming up and there's a certain width to it, yeah? And as I go up, I'm rotating the chalk to get the thinness or thickness of the line. I'm not just all of a sudden going, okay, that's too thick, and now I'm going to go to the end of the pointing end. So really try and cultivate this ability to get from a very thick line to a thin line, still using the side of your chalk rather than the end of your chalk. Okay, and once you have your tree, go over it now with red. Again, try and work from the bottom up. Now you can start thinking about where the roots are exposed, coming into the plant. And work your way up into the branches. Bless you.
I have another one of these.
Is it just really hard?
Every time I rub it, it just does this metallic thing on it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to let any colors.
Yeah, I just kind of need to rub it in. It's a little bit, it's like that. It's red.
Okay, so your tree was green and then now it's turning brown. With the layering of another color, and we can put a little bit of magenta, this pinky purple on top. Just a little bit coming up the trunk. You don't have to navigate it up every branch. And once you've got that, then come over it with a layer of your lemon yellow.
What color?
Lemon yellow. And all that coolness will turn into a lovely golden color. Okay, now, while you still have your yellow, come back over to your house and just give a little bit of shape to your door. Not a lot, just a hint of it. And to the roof line. Let's give it a little bit of color. Okay, let's be done with winter, shall we? So take your green and bring some clusters of green into your branches. You don't want to obliterate your branches. We want to still see sky. We want to see the structure of the tree. And we're not necessarily seeing the branches that are coming out towards us, but there are some, and so there will be some foliage in the lower branches that are facing us as well. And be careful not to make your tree too symmetrical. They rarely are. And once you have your main clusters of foliage, you can come in with your lime green, so this really bright lemony green, and put some highlights on the foliage. Not too much. And you can use that same color to give the tree a little bit of texture in its trunk. So just coming up again from the bottom, finding your way up from the roots, and just drawing some line up into the lower branches. Okay, if you're kind of tired with your tree, come back over now with some green, and we'll create a little bit of hedge around the house. So bringing some green back in, and just make a little irregular line of green behind the house, and maybe even in front of the house. Come in, and maybe there's some low bushes around the house that we can build in. And either with your yellow or your lime green, you can give that a little bit of highlight at the tops. And if your green feels too bright back here, you can come over it with one of your deeper blues and tone that down a little. And oh no, I'm careening away, and now I'm bringing blue around my drawing a little bit more. Starting to change this up a bit. A little bit of blue under the doorway. A little bit of a shadow under the eaves. How many of you would like some mountains? Some mountains, okay. So let's not make them crazy dramatic mountains, but let's have some mountains in the background. So finding with your kind of a deeper blue violet. Let's stay behind the roof line. Let's not have them come up so far that the peak of the roof is buried, and just find them. Find your mountains. Maybe this is the Ozarks or the Appalachians. No, we're not doing Rockies here. Okay, so a blue, and then again we can layer it with another blue. And that seems pretty cool. I want to go over it with my blue-green near the bottom. And let's use our white to put a little crown of snow, just a dusting. So again, just using the side of your chalk and come along the edge that you wish to be the ridge of your mountain, and just press a little bit more on the side that's closest to that ridge line. If you want some clouds, go ahead and bring them in. Oh, it's just so glowing.
It's funny, I was going for sweet thatch, and then it was treated. I was like, oh, that's not thatch.
Okay, what I'd like you to do is stop And just step away from your drawing for a minute. Look at it from about 4 feet away. And is there anything that feels unfinished? Certain aspects of it may be well cooked, and other areas still feel like they need a little bit of attention. Maybe the sky feels a little thin. Maybe the house needs a little bit more detail. So determine with your drawing what you feel needs just a little bit more of a push. And just focus on that for a couple minutes, and then we're going to stop and walk around and look at one another's. So, Amy, if you can get a little further away. You're still pretty darn close. Are you having fun? Was that a yes, Molly?
All day.
Good. It should be.
Fantasizing.
Of spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did make them a little bit more.
Yeah.
They have some
It's
peaks, you know.
one of this area.
Mountains. Sure, the Appalachians is beautiful.
Okay. Please walk around and look at one another's drawings. Try not to make comments. And again, see if there's something else that someone's done that you would like to incorporate into your drawing. So take a little tour. Paper towels? Paper towels? In the bathroom? In the kitchen?
Yeah, it is.
Switched.
I don't know, Molly. I think you're up in a much higher elevation than the rest of us.
That's why I
I tend to go that way. Appalachians are mountains.
Okay, have a seat. And you've got 2 minutes to incorporate something that you saw somewhere else that you liked.
It's too late.
It's too late. Okay. All right, what I would love for you to do is, I want to see all these together. And then just stay back here and let's form a semicircle. Okay, comments. Comments. Yeah.
I'm just surprised how close they all look together, you know, like even though they're different, like there's, you know, I mean, we're really instructed to do what you asked, but it's almost like you have to really look to find yours, you know?
So let's look at a few specific areas. So let's just look first at the house shapes. What feels, so now I'm going to take it back into the curriculum. What feels most like a first grade house? And for those of you who are not, so for you, I know this is just going to go, but maybe not.
I'm art education, so.
Okay, so the archetypal first grade house.
I shoot over to that, the curve one.
Okay, and why?
Because the softness of it, it's got this curved house.
Okay.
thing. I mean, that's where I go to the softness of it.
Yes. There's also more texture on it, which gives it that feeling of softness. Okay.
More texture than...
Well, it just feels softer. It feels like it's made of straw or something soft because of the texture.
It's also sharp.
It's also what?
It's not sharp.
Yeah. Okay. Which one would feel like, if this was a first grade drawing, the most, I'm not sure I want to go in that house? Is there one?
Maybe the one with the really tall roof.
Okay, the steeper pitched roof? The one on the front row, far left? Okay.
I think about the one in the middle back feels so large that I'm a little daunted. And then the one to the right of it is so crisp that it's kind of imposing a little bit. And that, for me, feels a little scary.
Okay.
And it almost looks like the one she was just referring to, it looks like the wind might be blowing the leaves a little bit. Like it might be stormy or...
Okay. All right, how about juxtaposition of tree to house? Is there any kind of a feeling that you got from the placement of the tree, the size of the tree in relationship to the house?
I like this tree a lot.
And why?
Like, it looks like they're really part of each other, like you run out of the house and you go and climb the tree, or
Okay.
stand under the tree and have
Okay.
a picnic, and they're just very connected, and
The lower right.
yeah, the lower right.
I like the second top one there. Because the tree's in the middle, it looks like you can go out and play in the tree, and then the house is there for comfort. So the
Okay.
tree is the focus instead of the house being the focus.
Okay.
Also, being from a tornado area, I would be afraid of a tree being that close to my house. But I think that house could probably withstand that tree possibly.
That
Because it's a
top one,
pretty,
that top
yeah,
one,
it's a pretty
yeah.
strong looking
Yeah.
house.
It does look very
That was the
strong.
first thing I looked at, who's got the closest tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, those two, the houses are really together, the roots might get into the foundation. But I really like it. I like the two being close together. It also has that sheltering feeling. The house.
Okay. And just trees. Just the tree. Different qualities to them? Are some more accessible, others more majestic?
Yeah, this one in the middle in the back row, that it just looks kind of far away. And it also, yeah, makes me think of like something old. Old style.
Okay. So my last question for you is going to, well, two more questions. So one, and I'm really asking this question specifically because of Molly's. So this is Molly's, and there's something about it that begs me to ask the question, do you get the sense spatially of where you are in an environment? Where do you feel you are in these drawings? And then look at Molly's, and does it feel like you're somewhere else?
The altitude's very different.
Okay, why?
Yeah.
Why?
There's more sky, and that tree is like holding on to the ground. It looks a little craggier, and the tree is something about the way that tree is.
It's low to the ground.
Okay.
It's, yeah,
Down
the
a
limbs.
steep hill
Okay.
to a tree hanging on to the edge, and it might keep going down. And then
Okay.
back up again into the mountain.
So why does it feel like there's a steepness that it drops down there? What is
For one
that?
thing, she's got that V shape, but
Okay.
she's also got a much lower horizon line than most of us.
Okay, what else? There's one more thing. Yes. So because there's this contrast here, that's going to push, it's going to say there's more distance here. Something is much further away. And you do get the sense, because of these extremes, that there's, just quite a spatial distance.
The tree looks very large. It looks like a very large tree, like, but for just further away than the house. So there's like, yeah, judging by that, it just seems like there's a lot of space right there.
Okay.
It's a very wise tree.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other comments? How was that? As an exercise.
Oh, it was great.
Yes, I mean, I forgot. We started by covering the whole page in blue. It seems like hours ago.
Yeah.
And that we actually were able to put all this detail into it, starting with a simple covering.
If you think of your own drawing, is there anywhere on your drawing where you only have one layer of color? Carrie, you do?
I do, mine's the yellow one down here in the front.
Okay.
I'm like, wow, I never changed the yellow.
But there is blue under the yellow, isn't there? Okay, so this is something that I want to speak to this in terms of if you are working with children, if you are drawing on a chalkboard in front of them, keep that in mind always. Always think minimum 2 layers. The more layers you put down, the richer it gets. Okay, and I'll leave it at that because I know we're already over.
Can I say one more thing? There's
Yeah.
2 back here in the back because they look darker than the rest of ours. Like they're nighttime ones opposed to. I think it's because of the light
Or just a
layer in the
stormy
back
night.
of those two.
Yeah,
It looks
stormy.
like it's night instead of day.
That
Yes.
brings out a contrast that's really nice for that tree.
Yeah.
Terrific. Good. So when do we come back?